You're good.
Yeah. It's just a reminder, this meeting will be Zoom recorded. So, it is 4 o'clock on the 23rd January 2026. I'll call a special meeting of the Dolores County Board of County Commissioners to order. If everyone can join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for all being here in person and online as well. We do not have any minutes or expenditures today. We will limit public participation to the agenda item and we'll keep that at a strict 5 minutes. I do know that the ambulance board has a meeting shortly after this. And with that, before we get into our first agenda item, will be the Dolores County Ambulance District, Duck Creek Ambulance District update. Reason we're here is for an appointment, and just a clarification on that from our end. We did obtain certainty from our legal counsel as well as from the Department of Local Affairs that the vacancies on the board will be appointed by the remaining director. Okay. So, all right. Yeah. And then we can get with you on that as far as certifying that DOLA contact information.
Okay. I think that'd be helpful from a with the paper trail standpoint.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay.
So,
ready to go then?
Yep.
All right. This feels weird if there's people behind. If it's okay, I'm just going to stand and kind of address all of you. Is that all right?
Yep. The floor is yours.
That way also for anybody online. So I guess it'd be helpful just to remind people of why we're here, how this came to be. And that is that starting, I believe, about Tuesday afternoon-ish, I saw the first resignation from one of the Dolores County, the Duck Creek Ambulance Board, other board members. And then there was more to come. Then on Wednesday evening, we had scheduled a board meeting. And that was when the final resignation of the last board member, other than me, was submitted. And also at that same time, the resignation of the chief of the ambulance service and a number of other providers. And that number also increased over a bit of time. So that left me, I think the reference is the last man standing. And as Commissioner as mentioned, there is precedent for, I'm going to say, unfortunately, my having the responsibility of appointing a new board. So let me start with who those appointees are, and then I'm going to talk about the process so everybody's aware of what that looks like. I also thought it'd be helpful to talk about initial business for the board, which will commence this evening. You mentioned a 5 o'clock board meeting that will be held at the ambulance barn, again at 5 o'clock, and will hopefully be accessible via Zoom. We'll admit I'm still trying to figure out how to turn the various switches on and off, and sometimes literally, and also just to make sure we have network access. So that's my hope. My desire is to have as much transparency as possible and participation as possible. The appointees, most of which are here, but not all. And actually the one that is not here, but will be at the board meeting is Jake Klein. It's the first appointee. Next, Christina Garcher, followed by Branson Smith and Laverna Baxter. So first, I'm really grateful that there were so many people expressing interest. A lot of people have reached out to me in these last few days. And I'll have to say that actually every reaching out was amazing. I was about to say amazingly civil, very cordial, very nice. And again, was very, very concerned about where we stand. Let me also mention this on Wednesday evening, with the lapse of having a chief and so many of the other staff members having resigned, then the final shift of service for the ambulance commenced through midnight of that night. And the reason for that timing had to do with our medical director restricting authority because we simply did not have enough people and local supervision to take place. I'll talk a little bit more about medical director here in a little bit. Back to the appointees, the process for appointment started with people that had expressed a direct interest. I'm going to say somewhat unsolicited. I think I did make a comment during the non-board meeting because it actually shifted toward I'll call it a community meeting. And there was a lot of conversation at that time that people at the end decided they would be willing to sign up. Basically, I have interest in becoming a board member. I was hoping for at least a couple. As it turned out, there were more people that signed up at that time than are available SCs, which is really wonderful. I had also asked for prior interest when the original appointment was made by you all some time back. And so in a couple of cases, there were individuals that expressed interest at that time and also at the meeting. And in my mind, that means a lot. People showed up, were willing to stay present, deeply cared for this community. And rather than say, that's it, I've had it. And I get that sometimes that's the frustration that can be had. They said, I'm willing to step up and be a help. And so that took place. So these were all unsolicited on my part. I did not recruit anybody. And in fact, there were numerous occasions when I would re-ask the appointee whether they were sure. In fact, also this morning, I sent out another text to all of them saying, now that you know who you're going to be working with, and you've had a night to think about this, are you certain you still want to be a part of this? Because I felt it was very important that anybody that's going to be on the board for these next several months, not only be sincere in their general interest, but recognize the gravity of what they're stepping into. Also, I prioritized, I'm going to say, timeliness of the appointment over lots of diligence in terms of interviewing, looking for possible candidates, etc. I was very interested in getting a new board appointed as soon as possible, as practically possible, so that we can go about the business of trying to get ambulance service back online. I felt that was very important, and arguably every day matters. Maybe every hour matters. And so some of the decision on my part came relatively early. There were still people calling me up, sending me emails, texts saying, hey, add me to your list. And I had to respond back to them that the appointments had been already made. There's a part of me that would have liked more scrutiny, at least for me. But I will reconcile that with the reality that there will be a general election in May. So we have between this point now in January, toward the tail end of January through May, and I don't recall the exact date, as this, I'm going to call it interim board, at which time there'll be opportunities for new board members, perhaps incumbent ones if they so choose, but that our focus right now is to get the ambulance service back online and as on track and as successful as we can for those that might be coming in new in May. My review of possible candidates, I will admit, is subjective. It didn't have some kind of specific criteria. I was very interested in trying to have a cross-section of interest, people that had different perspectives. Sometimes that doesn't always happen in board composition. You have people of like mindset. And not to say that none of you are similar in mindset, but that you have different perspectives, different locations, different past experiences, and yet have a deep compassion for the community. And then, let's see, I think I mentioned this lastly, is that I did give them all multiple opportunities to bow out. I suggested that they bow out before I read their names aloud. So that could still be private, but none of them have chosen that option. And for that, I'm really grateful. The next meeting at 5 o'clock will be the start of a new board. Loretta will be there to swear in the new appointees. Following that, there'll be election of officers. And then a bit of administrative business. And then we get really to the, I'll say, the heart of the matter. And there are two primary areas that has been a lot of focus and some, I'll say, initial conversations just to try to get I'll say the pump primed. And the first one is looking for a candidate interim chief. I am very hopeful that the new board will choose to make that relationship as solid and formal as we can tonight. And so that means that we do have a candidate in mind. I have had opportunity to have a fair amount of conversation, and I'm again hopeful that this comes to pass, because that's a really important step for us to be able to get the medical director in agreement to start to have and extend authority for operating yet again. I'm going to pause just for a minute and see if there's any questions. I suppose, so I had conversations about, should I out the interim candidate or not? So everybody knows, okay. So I'm grateful that Grant has not said no thus far. And anyway, he is here, and already there's been, I think, really helpful conversations. I know that in some that I've had with him, there has been a lot of conversations at the state level of people trying to figure out how can there be the best ways forward as quickly as possible to help get this ambulance service back online. So thank you, Brent, for that. Again, I don't want to speak beyond candidate because the board needs to first be in place and then make that decision. But I'm glad that we have someone to pick from, because 2 nights ago, for me, it looked very bleak. Even though I knew that maybe Grant might be an option, there's a lot that he had to process. Probably a lot of people had to process. And so I would say we've come a fairly long ways over these 2 days, and still have a lot yet to accomplish. Let's see, there was also some conversation at the meeting on Wednesday night with the medical director. His name is Dr. Somebody help me out. Grisham, thank you. And I've since come to understand more about his relationship and some of the issues, and perhaps non-issues. So one issue that was kind of first right off the bat in place was his withdrawing some of the authority for operating. Now, it makes sense that he would do that because we didn't have providers in place to be able to serve. However, there was some concern, and admittedly, I was concerned after watching a fair number of resignations that his might be next. That is not the case. He has not expressed any intent in that direction toward me. And there are clauses having to do with the required amount of notice that a medical director has to give prior to actually resigning anyway. So from a resignation standpoint, right now, he is still the medical director, and we hope that will continue as it makes sense. The next step will be to have, once a official interim chief is formalized by the board, is to start having those conversations formally between the medical director and the chief, and to work on a process forward to start to decide what services can be brought online first. I think it's probably safe to say that it won't immediately be everything that we once had, but it will be incremental and as fast as makes sense. And I think right now that's perhaps as good as we can expect. There are lots of items of some urgency in order to get to that point. And some of them will have to do with trying to identify potential providers, perhaps some that had previously had relationship with the ambulance and decided no longer to have, may get revisited. I don't know what that will look like. Ultimately, I will leave that to the chief to make some of those decisions. I also had a bit of a conversation with Melissa, and glad you're here in case there's questions about current coverage. As of Wednesday night, I believe you had a conversation with Cortez, and then following with Norwood. And Southwest is providing coverage for now for Dove Creek, and that Cortez Dispatch is also aware of that. If people, I think everybody here knows, but I'm going to restate the obvious, that Cortez Dispatch is involved nightly when our dispatch is not in service. And so there's a handoff that takes place both at night and then back in the morning. And so they're aware, and Southwest is aware. They're providing that ambulance service for us in the meantime. Clearly, that has extended delivery times. That's a problem, as well as simply that you need to have that organic support here. So that's important again.
So Pleasant View Fire is helping Southwest. So if it's something that's very critical, Pleasant View Fire will come out. They're not a transport ambulance, but they will at least be here until Southwest gets here.
Great, thanks for that. Yeah. And so there may be things like that, that again, the interim chief may be able to start ramping up to provide some degree of support and service to get things at least started more quickly, and to then get people where they need to be. That's all that I have for this meeting, but am open to questions by yourselves if there's anything I haven't covered, or anyone else in the room if questions are allowed.
Yeah, we don't have any questions, at least I don't.
I don't either.
At this time, so we can open up to public comment at this time.
I just have appreciation for you and all you've been through for the last 2 days.
Absolutely.
So thank you, appreciate it.
And I'll add to that, the health and safety of our citizens here, it's paramount importance. And I am impressed, and I am very proud of the people who are here. And it's an unfortunate situation that we're in. But it's a testament to the resolve of the people here that we're able to step up and move forward with this and get our ambulance back up and around. Greg, you've got a lot on your shoulders. So, thank you for everything. With that, if there's no other comments, I'm sure there will be more discussion in the meeting later.
Yes.
Teed out a lot of the details, but with that, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes as well. Meeting is adjourned.
Nice.